Good evening and welcome to the July 20th, 2022 meeting of the Planning Board of the Town of Ossining. Okay, and we'll start with board members. Okay, I'm just start with you, Jason. You want to introduce yourself?
Jason Mencher, Planning Board alternate.
Manny.
Good evening, Manny Enriquez, Planning Board member.
Donna.
Donna Sharrett, Planning Board member.
Jim.
Jim Basinas, Planning Board member.
Kathy.
Kathy Zalantis, Planning Board attorney.
Sandy.
Sandy Anelli, Planning Board secretary.
Dan.
Nancy Arcia, consulting engineer of the Planning Board.
Margaret.
Margaret Khan, secretary.
Valerie.
Valerie Menastra, planning consultant, Planning Board.
And I'm Carolyn Stevens, Planning Board chair. All right, our first item this evening is 51 Curtin Dam Road. There is a public hearing still open. Is there anyone here to speak on that this evening? Yes.
Yes, I'm Ralph Mastromonaco, consulting engineer. I appear for Mark Bacucci, who is the property owner. This is, we made an application some time ago for subdividing 2 lots into 3 lots. Each lot is in excess of the minimum requirements of the zoning code. We are converting a 50-foot strip into a private road. And I think I can probably share my screen, hopefully. I don't know, is that visible? Is the subdivision map visible?
Yes.
Oh, good. On this version, this latest version, which we submitted about 6 or 7 weeks ago, it does show the actual house that Mr. Bacucci would like to build. That's not technically the subject of the application at this moment. The subject of this application is the dividing line between lot 1 and lot 2 is to become a new dividing line. If you can follow my cursor, the existing driveway would become access to all 3 lots. The new lot, lot 2, does have frontage on Croton Dam Road. We did provide stormwater management basin on the lower right. The applicants in this case are also the homeowners that live in the back on lot 3. This map is a preliminary plat. We seek your board's approval to divide this lot into 3 and to create the private road. Upon your approval, we would then go to the health department and we would fulfill all the requirements of the health department. Then we would come back to you with health department approval, a new plat. This is my plan. We would come back with the surveyor's plan, which would ultimately and hopefully be filed. This is a public hearing. I don't think we've had much comment on this application, but certainly I'll send this back to the chairwoman and perhaps you can take it from there.
Okay. Valerie, do you have any comments?
We had a few comments based on the latest plan. First, in terms of seeker, this is an unlisted action. So I provided the board, the applicant already provided a Part 1 EAF. I provided the board a Part 2 as well as a Part 3. And this board, if it so chooses, can issue a negative declaration. Also, in terms of outstanding site plan comments, We did note that there are a few comments of our memo that have not been addressed, and the applicant has indicated that they would address those a little bit further in the overall plat process. In terms of the street design that would be dealt with in the building permit process. Sewer and water would be dealt with when they deal with the Department of Health. Stormwater is being reviewed right now by the town engineer. And then that easements, that those would also be dealt with further along the actual process in terms of getting their final approvals on the subdivision. So my recommendation is that if this board wants to move forward with considering approval of this particular project, I would suggest having as conditions of approval that the final grade of the road can be designed during the building permit process, that the section 176.17, the applicant must meet all those requirements of that section, as well as obtain all required approvals from the Westchester County Department of Health for sewer and water, that the stormwater final review and approval from the stormwater by the town engineer would be a condition of approval, as well as applicant agreeing to pay the recreation fees. And then finally, that all easements, as a condition of approval, that all easements need to be reviewed and accepted by the town planning board attorney.
Kathy, do you have any comments?
I mean, generally this board likes to see the final plat and have the design fleshed out in the subdivision process. So I don't know why we're kicking the can down the road or potentially kicking the can down the road and not designing the layout in the context of the subdivision. I don't know why they would go to the health department on a conceptual plan rather than a subdivision plat. We should see the subdivision plat. That should be the next step.
I agree. Anyway. Also, there was some concern, as I understand, with the fire department was not happy with the grading on the road. Have you discussed that with the with anyone, Mr. Mess? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, and where does that stand?
Yes, the applicant has, made several requests of the building inspector to look at the code, and the result was that there may need to be some small amount of grading on the road for a building permit. And the building inspector is actually the authority in this matter. So he allowed the applicant to make that determination when he applies for a building permit. And that's where we left it. That's basically, and I think you have something written there, but I also would like to respond to Kathy's comment. This is the plat. It is a preliminary plat, but it is the plat. It is what we would hope for would be preliminary approval of this plat. Then we would, at that point, we would prepare, the surveyor would prepare the actual subdivision map. Then we would come back to you with that map and the health department approval. At that point, you would have the surveyor's plat. You can make comments at final approval, and there's really nothing lost in the process if we do it that way.
I've got to disagree with you on that, Ralph, because if we've got changes, once we see the actual surveyor's plat, we don't want to be in a situation where it comes back with health department approval, and then we've got an issue with an easement or a note that we really ought to have, even if we do this approving resolution, it should be really subject to providing us a plat for staff review before it goes to the health department. The first time we see it shouldn't be after it's gone to the health department already.
No, that's fine. If this board was willing to get give us a conditional approval that we provide the plat to staff before we go to the health department. We don't have any problem with that. But I would also like to point out that the easements shown, all of the easements shown on this map are easements between us. They're not easements that are going to the town. The town has no real, there's no downside for the town in the easements themselves. These are easements between ourselves.
No, there's a downside if there's a problem that we missed and the parties have a problem between themselves because we didn't see something. So, I mean, however it goes, the bottom line for me is we need to review something before it goes to the health department.
Well, that's fine. We agree to that. If the board can grant preliminary approval, preliminary and final with conditions, we're happy to send the plat to staff before we go to the health department.
I mean, I think the planning board needs to review that plat, the surveyor's plat, and approve that surveyor's plat before it goes to get health department approval.
Well, is that Kathy talking?
Yes.
Well, the plan, and you can do that if you want. It just delays the process. You'll have the same.
No, I understand your sense that it delays the process, but it also prevents, as Dan was trying to explain, us from missing something and having to do things twice.
Right.
Well, you still remember you have a second bite of this apple at final approval.
I don't disagree, Kathy and Dan. And I think these were items that we've been asking for a number of months, and they have not been provided. So, and at this point, that was the applicant's position that they were going to try to deal with these issues down the road. And at which point, if this board is going to move forward with that, then you're definitely going to want to make it these condition as approval.
I personally, I'll ask the other board members, would rather see the final plat and then we could go from there. But I don't see, you have to do it anyway. And then for us to have to go back over everything, once you've done that, you're asking us basically to do this work twice. So I don't quite get it, unless I'm missing something. Any of the other board members have anything they want to say?
I have a couple comments. One is I feel like we should do a site walk before there's any approvals of a subdivision. The planning board, I feel, should at least see the property. Unless others have, I haven't. Then also, I've been asking for more details on the storm, on that rain garden, which I know that's in Dan's wheelhouse, but I would not feel comfortable approving this without having more information on that. It's a very large house and a large driveway, and that water is indicated that it's going to run down the slope onto Croton Dam Road from that rain garden. So that seems like that could be potentially a problem. And even on the part 2 of the short EAF, number 10 says, will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential of erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Well, I don't know how we would know that if we don't know how that water's, if that area can manage that amount of water. And I actually think it should be more than one spot. I mean, I just think it's just too much impervious surface, but that's Dan's wheelhouse. But I think as a planning board member, I would like to have all that information figured out. I also, there was an issue with the garage sticking out. Was that resolved? Like there was questions about the placement of that existing garage and the road. Was that resolved and I'm just forgetting?
So this last round, the applicant has stated that the position of where the existing garage is now, and in relation to the existing lot 1 and lot 3, that there has been no issues and that they're not proposing to make any changes as a result of this subdivision.
Okay, and did John look at that? Is that something that he would look at? Or
this is something that has been referred to him, and he has looked at the current plans as is. And his last memo was, I think, was back in May, which basically said the way the road is as proposed meets code, and he would be dealing with the slopes during building permit process.
So he had no issue with the existing garage?
He did not.
Okay, fine, thank you. So I'm, just for the record, I'm not ready to sign off on this.
If I just might add that these, in terms of the drainage, this plan has been around for almost 2 months, and all of the details are on the plans, how that is handled. Besides that, we did a complete drainage study that was, I guess, supplied to the town. I believe Dan has reviewed it or is reviewing it. So we've provided a tremendous amount of information on the stormwater, and you know, I don't know how you could miss it.
Jim, Manny, Jason, anybody else have anything?
I'm not going to disagree with Dan and the town attorney as far as procedures. So
Okay.
I don't have any comments.
Okay. Manny or Jason, you have anything? I can't see.
I'll just echo what Jim said.
Okay.
And I'll concur as well, Carolyn. I'll go with the Donna's decision that we need those to see the plot plan first before we review this further.
All right. So I think Mr. Monaco, that there seems to be some agreement that we should see at least the final plat, you know, a surveyor's plat, and then we can go from there so that we don't have to come back and do this again.
When is your next meeting?
Is it August 6th?
3rd.
August 3rd, rather. Okay.
August 3rd?
Yeah.
Well, number one, just procedurally, are you able to close the public hearing on this project?
Kathy, any comment? Can we close the public hearing at this point?
I don't think you've had any comment from the public, so
No, we haven't. I grant you that. So I'm just trying to make sure.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how we can close the public hearing if submissions are still going to be made. So okay. I would leave open the public hearing.
I agree.
Can I just make another request?
Sure.
What we're looking for is preliminary approval. So if we come back in August and you're happy with the plat, would you be granting preliminary and final approval?
Well, we can't until you consult with the health department, certainly. So it'll still be preliminary, but at least we'll be in a better position to understand. And Dan will have a chance to finish his work on the stormwater. So we'll.
Well, what we're hoping is that if we show you the plat. See, I can't go to the health department without you completing your review and without you completing seeker. I can't go there. Right. The health department won't act without your approval, either preliminary or final.
Okay.
You can grant us preliminary and final approval, and you, chairwoman, won't sign the plat until the attorneys agree that it's complete and the health department has approved it. So I'm not quite sure. You know, you're taking a process that we don't really know. I really don't know what your process is down the line.
But the bottom line is you're not going to the health department without a plat that we've reviewed. So I'm missing, you know, you're just going to get one approval. You're going to get a final resolution based upon the plat, which will be the plat that ultimately goes to the health department. So I don't see that we're saving any time here.
Okay, so the approval that we get would be both preliminary and final based on us providing this plat.
And Dan,
I mean, provided there's no conditions that have to be made to the plat, you would then have to resubmit a plat. So assuming that all the conditions are met and there's no further changes that need to be made to the plat, then you can go to the health department with that approval. This is a minor subdivision. So I think you're getting hung up on terminology. What we're asking for, like Dan said, is we need to see the plat. And that approval is going to be based on a plat, not based on a non-surveyor's subdivision map.
And that could be approved because you're going to need the negative declaration in the resolution to go to the health department too. So
right. Well, the different, just so you know, the
documents you need to go there.
No, it's fine. It's fine with us. The confusion was that you're not going to grant a separate preliminary approval. You're going to grant both a preliminary and final approval in the same resolution. So there is no preliminary. There's no specific.
I don't know how they're going to possibly do that because you're not going to have all those easements worked out and the easement language by the next submission.
But we can at least work off of a surveyor's plat and have something, you know, that, as Dan said, so we don't miss something.
Right. Well, then I would assume, even maybe it's not quite clear, I would assume that your approval would be both preliminary and final at some point in the future. You're not going to see the plat, then grant preliminary approval, and then I come back later and you grant final approval, and then I go to the health department. That would be, you know, that would not be a good procedure.
So let's get all the ducks in a row, so to speak, and then we can.
Like Valerie said, there's going to be conditions to this approval that you're getting next, but it's going to be based on a plat that you could, once approved, take to the health department.
Right.
We're not going to grant any approval based on a non-surveyor's, based on this type of drawing. We need to see the plat.
Okay, I think you're allowed to do that for preliminary approval, but it's not worth arguing about.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I would ask you to, can you close the public hearing?
I already said we cannot because we're going to be submitting, making more submissions. So we're going to keep open the public hearing.
Okay, it's up to you, but I just want to make a point that there has been no public comment.
We are aware of that.
Okay.
Okay. So do you plan to submit something by our next meeting?
Well, unfortunately, in this particular case, the original surveyor on this has retired. So we're stuck with, being on a different survey. We have to get a different surveyor here.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Our next item. Do we need to do a motion, Kathy? Or are we good?
You could do a motion to continue the public hearing, depending on when the submission is made. You just do a motion to continue the public hearing.
Okay. Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing?
I'll make
the motion.
Oops, I'll second.
Okay. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay. There. All right. Our next item is River Knolls. Hi, Glenn.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Wayne.
And you're muted, Wayne.
Okay.
Maybe he's asleep. Wayne?
Sandy, just for my edification, how many people do we have?
So far, it looks like we have 11 attendees.
Okay, thanks. All right.
From the public.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, I think I'm unmuted now, right?
You're unmuted.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Glenn or Wayne, whichever, I'm going to ask one of you to do just a very short presentation, like 5-10 minutes about the project. And then we will go to the public hearing on Okay.
Okay, we have something ready.
Sure.
You'll share the screen, Sandy?
I think you have to share your screen.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Share, here we go. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. No.
Share screen. Oh, share. All right.
Yeah.
Now you can see it. Hold on. There we go. All right.
Are those your children?
Yeah, my twins.
Very nice.
That was Japan a few years ago. All right. So I have about a 8-minute update for, I guess, for the people listening in more than anybody. So everybody knows this is a new plan. It's 95 units. It's a seniors plan. The prior plan was this Adirondack project rental that sat up on the bluff. It was 188 units, and our takeaway from the years of it being reviewed, certain people didn't want a rental because they were concerned about transient residents, didn't want more school-age children, that the school was already overcrowded, wanted to minimize traffic, particularly up at 9A, wanted new tax positive revenues. And then we were encouraged by some of the town members to look into a seniors oriented community. So these are the various submissions that began back in the end of 2014. The submission that we made last fall for this new project. And I just want to point out that during the course of this project, we've had upwards of 20 different firms, you name it, involved in this project. And then lastly, last month, we submitted the most recent version of the DEIS. And then we've gone, Carolyn's the latest and greatest planning board chair. I counted, we have been through 15 public hearings or town presentations. And this fall, September, will be 9 years that I've been working on this project. By far, it gets the award for me for longest gestation period. And these are all the things that are addressed in those EISs, really for the people listening in. And then I wanted to quickly walk through the existing conditions, highly compromised buildings that are in disrepair. 8-9 years of minimal tax revenues. Most of the board members have walked the site, but different vantage points on the site as it exists today. So the proposal is 95 townhouse project, 85 which are market rate, 10 will be affordable. And this will restrict those under 19. And this is a bird's eye view. We've done a lot of computer modeling of the project. And we were asked to look at the project from these 4 vantage points, 2 on Croton Dam Road, 1 on 2nd Avenue, if you can see my pointer, and 1 over by Narragansett. So this is the Croton Dam Road view looking eastbound. The frontage of the site is about a quarter mile in length. That building in the foreground is what we are thinking about proposing for a community building with a pool. And then this is looking westbound. These areas here are the swales that will collect all of the water. There are residents over on Pershing, both at the Croton Dam Road side and also Pershing over on the southeast side that do get runoff during heavy rain events. And these swales will capture all the water, let it percolate, and then some of it will run off into the domestic system in Croton Dam Road. This is looking from Narragansett Avenue. In the foreground is Veterans Memorial Park. This is a emergency access point for fire trucks, and there'll be a breakaway access control gate here for emergency vehicles. And then similarly, this is Second Avenue view. The existing hospital buildings kind of sit in here. Our highest building is about 12, 15 feet lower than the existing hospital buildings that sit up here and sit up here. And this is kind of a bird's eye view looking down at that same location, this being Second Avenue and the green space. We've been careful to try to maintain green buffers around the buildings, and any of the greenery that will be surrounding these buildings closest to Second will be evergreens. And then some interior views of the buildings, a modern farmhouse style, another row of them, more. Many of the buildings fit on sloping sites, so the lowest level, the basement level, can be fitness rooms and additionally offices. All of the units will have one office or den, but also the ability for a second office if there's a two couple working at home. These are what we view will be the affordable units. And then kind of looking at the green space, we've been careful on all edges, certainly on Croton Dam Road, pulling back here from people up on Grandview. There's an existing game room or game facility that will be raised, and then that will be a new green space. But really all of the edges will have a lot of green. This is Narragansett. We have a small wetland from runoff, Narragansett down in this area, and then green buffers here, a large green buffer here, and then certainly green buffers here. The distances are quite long from the Pershing homes, and then there's a hillside. So we have some sections, you'll get a better understanding of that. Here's Pershing, and the homes that sit down in Pershing are much lower than the back of our nearest units. This is Second Avenue. There's an existing maintenance building here, so that would give some idea to the nearest neighbor as to distance. We're slightly behind. We'll sit up a little bit higher, but certainly better looking building. And then over on First Avenue, a building sitting well below, about 70 foot from the nearest edge. And then the nearest edge up on, this would be Grandview way over here. These would be the setbacks, and you can get a sense of where we're taking the section. And then these were some of the early precedents we looked at for the styles. I'll just go through this real quick. We love this from terms of color palette. And then this was something that's inspiring us for the entry building. And then we did a lot of studying of windows, of doors, farmhouse doors, railings, and then roof lines. Studied a lot. And then we're proposing a mix of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom, 2-level units with basements. The sizes are going to range from 17 to 2,400 square feet plus the lower level. 2-car garages in all the market rate units. Dens and offices in all the units, large foyers, large walk-in closets in all the bedrooms, contemporary kitchens, a small gym or second office as an option in the lower level, and then an option to put an elevator in all of the units. There'll be 4-foot square closets on all the floors, so that if you want to option an elevator, we can do that easily. The profile will be people typically late 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s who had a house, no longer want to maintain a house and all of the maintenance that's required outside. And they would prefer it to be professionally managed. All of the, cleaning of gutters, maintenance of the exterior, landscaping, all done professionally. And if they want to go away, They can have professional management oversee their units if they want to travel. And once again, it's a 55+ community that restricts those under 19. Then the 3 areas that always kind of hit the top of the list in terms of concerns. The fiscal analysis was done by Phillips Price, a third-party group. It's been reviewed by the town's consultants. The project's going to throw off $1,125,000, $740,000 going to the school with no offsetting cost to educate children. So the increase will be over $1 million over the current $98,000 being thrown off by the project, and increase over services of about $800,000. Traffic. So the traffic, we've studied all of the intersections around the project numerous times. Stony Lodge Hospital. So we did the mornings and evenings. Stony Lodge threw off 51 cars in the morning and 60 in the evening. Our new plan will generate 19 in the morning, 25 in the evening. And I would say anybody listening in that the town hired its own consulting engineer, Kimley Horn, big firm, does a lot of this work, and they confirmed our numbers. And so if you kind of average it over an hourly generation, it will be somewhere between 5 to 6 cars per hour in the morning, 6 to 7 per hour in the evening. So a net reduction from the prior use, the Stony Lodge Hospital use, of about 32% reduction, and then percent reduction. I'm sorry, the number of cars, and then the percent reduction. So next, and these are kind of where all the traffic measurements were taken. So this is my crude chart map showing our existing site, Croton Dam Road, Veterans Hospital, a Veterans Park, and the red crosshatch is the S50 zoning, and then the purple crosshatch is R5. S50 being 5,000 square foot lot zoning, R7.5 being 7,500 square foot zoning. The reason I bring that up is that if you take all of the lots abutting our property, the majority of them, 85% of them, are the 5,000 square foot lot types. And that represents, again, 85%. And if you did simple math by using our land area of 7.89 acres, it would, and divided through by 5,000 square foot lots, you would get 156 lots. Obviously, not taking into consider roads and steep slopes and all of the rest. However, we're well below what the zoning would provide if those were to be applied. And then the last thing I want to just say that kind of gets lost in all of this studying very closely of these EIS documents is just, you know, I studied architecture. I'm going to pat myself in the back a little bit. I studied architecture at Cornell and economics, and I take a deep interest in the look of my projects and the quality of the projects. And I get nothing more pleasure out of going back to projects that I've completed years later to see how they're holding up and how they're thriving. And every project I've ever done today is still something I'm very proud of, and doing well, and the people that are in them. My project that I did down in Tuckahoe, I can't tell you how many compliments I get for it. So I think an objective consideration that people need to think about, because developers come in all different shapes and sizes. Some of them come from finance backgrounds, some of them come from legal backgrounds, some of them come from brokerage backgrounds, et cetera. And personally, the ones that come from some architectural training, I believe, tend to produce the best projects long term. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, at this point, Sandy, are we ready to open the hearing? Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. If there is anyone that would like to speak, they could raise their hand. Or...
Right. Before we start, I would like to remind everybody that we're going to ask Sandy to time everybody. Everybody has 3 minutes to speak. And we'd like you to keep your comments to those 3 minutes. And in addition to that, I would just ask that everybody keep in mind, if somebody else has made your point, that we, just don't repeat it. If you have something new to add, by all means, add it. But if you just want to agree with somebody that spoke before you on the same points, please do that. I mean, we're here to listen this evening. We will not be commenting. The applicant will not be commenting, and we are here solely to take your comments on the DEIS that's been submitted. So with that, Sandy, let the first person who's raised their hand speak.
If you could raise your virtual hand and state your name and address for the record. If you're using a cell phone, you can press *9. Okay, the first speaker is Tanya Martin and Fred Kramer, or Fred Kramer. They're coming on.
Okay. Tanya, you need to unmute yourself. Tanya? Ms. Martin, you need to unmute yourself.
Can we come back to them?
Yes, we could get back to them.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, I have Tammy Willencheck. Tammy?
My question is about the cost of this 1-bedroom townhouse or 2-bedroom townhouse, or 2-bedroom with certain extra feature, if you know at this point.
Okay. Like I said, we're taking comments this evening. We will not be, nor will the applicant be responding to them at this point.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Is there anyone else out there, Sandy, with their hand raised?
Yes, Denise Mata. I hope I pronounced that right. Denise?
Hello?
Yes, Ms.
Okay.
Mata.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question about the traffic report. that was spoken about.
Yes.
I guess my question is, when was that conducted? And how long was it conducted? What was the timing of it? Was it done at several times of the day, different days of the week? Or was it all done, you know, from a Saturday morning standpoint, which would obviously be a lot different than a Tuesday night at 6 o'clock? And how long did the study go on for to come to the conclusion that was reported to us a little while ago?
Okay. Thank you. You'll, like they said this evening, there will not be responses made. We're just here to hear comments.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mata. Okay. Is there anyone else, Sandy?
I don't see anybody with their hand raised.
Should we try Tanya and Fred again?
We have Marissa Caruso.
Okay.
Hi, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Okay, I just have a couple of comments. I believe it's table 1 in the SDIS that refers to the alternatives. And there's a table at the bottom of that table, it talks about land use and zoning. And in each of those sections, it references whether or not the particular alternative is in context with the comprehensive plan. But there doesn't seem to be a direct link. Like for instance, when he talks about, or when it talks about the previous project and this project, it says it, you know, it's in contrast with the comprehensive plan, but it's just a vague statement. So I'd like maybe a direct link to the comprehensive plan or what it is that they're referencing. I think that would be helpful for the public to understand how we're determining what's in context with the comprehensive plan and what isn't. Second comment.
The button to click.
Oh, is there somebody talking?
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. And then the second comment, just in reviewing Mr. Ventromil's presentation, is when he talks about community character, he references lots that are S5 and R7, which fall within the village boundaries. And the development, as I understand it, is all to take place in the town boundaries, and maybe a reference to town zoning would be more accurate when we're considering density. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I do have another comment. On April 8th, 2021, a letter was submitted on my behalf from Blakely, Platt, and Schmidt, our attorneys. And there were a number of things that they had asked to be reviewed. And one of the bullet points was whether blasting will occur, and if so, its magnitude. I also find that in this SDEIS that the language is very vague. It says some may occur, and it refers you to whatever the procedures are for blasting. So, but there is no real clear indication of the magnitude of blasting. And so we would appreciate a response to that April 8th letter, which has been submitted to the planning board. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Caruso. Sandy, anybody else?
We could try Tanya and Fred Kramer again. Tanya Martin.
Is Martin or Mr. Kramer? You want to unmute yourselves?
There we are. Can you hear us now?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. This is our first meeting with your Zoom, and forgive our technical oopses. We're actually quite impressed with the meeting and with the planning procedure that this project has gone through. But we have one perhaps unusual concern. We live on the intersection of Pershing and Lee, so we are close to the vicinity of the proposed construction site. And we have an issue here where we're dealing with a seizure disorder, a type of epilepsy that can be triggered by different kinds of loud sounds, such as harmonics that occur when multiple power tools or power equipment is in use, or low frequency and infrasonics that, for example, are caused, say, by a pile driver or say a front loader that's being used in a hammer-like fashion. So we want to see if there is noise abatement considerations being given to the site, and if those noise abatement considerations are of a general nature, or if they are of more being held to a level of effectiveness that would solve our problem. We can include more detail in an email, but that's the gist of our concern, that the loud noises or the unusual types of noises that construction causes may be a seizure trigger. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. And yes, sending an email would be helpful.
Very good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for a good meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't see anybody else with their raised hand.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, Kathy, should we close the meeting, the hearing?
We're going to leave open public comment for written comments.
Correct. Till September 6th, I believe.
Right.
Is what the original notice said.
Yes. So we're going to be leaving open for written comments, so we don't need to close anything.
Okay. All right. So if anybody wants to submit any further comments or additional comments, you have until September 6th to do it in writing. And we thank you for coming this evening.
Kathy, just in terms of procedure, so this particular application is not going to be on the August 3rd agenda, and the August 17th agenda will be for more or less a workshop with the planning board.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So if you want to, we're not really closing this, but the oral comment period is going to be over after today, but we're still leaving open for the public to submit written comments through September 6th.
Right. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Kathy, does that require a motion to close the oral comments?
I mean, I just don't want to be unclear that people still have the right to comment on it. But we've already noticed it that written comments will be allowed through September 6th.
Okay.
But to be clear, the board will not be accepting any more oral comments.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we can move on then to our minutes.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Glenn.
Okay.
I'm sorry, is anybody making a motion to end this public hearing right now?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Eunice.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess the only thing left is on our agenda is to, I think we have minutes from June 15. Which meeting was that? Okay. I'm sorry, which meeting was that? June 15th?
15th, yes.
15th, yeah, okay. Does anybody have any comments about the minutes? Okay, can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Okay, second?
Yeah, second.
Thanks, Manny. Jim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Manny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion passes, the minutes are accepted. Are we done?
I just have one thing, just in terms of the comprehensive plan that was adopted, and the town is looking towards moving forward with some housekeeping items associated with the zoning code, anything that's, and then a few other, looking at the zoning code and a few other different elements in terms of some other like regulations. And so over the next few months, we would like to develop like a little bit of a subcommittee with representatives from the planning board, the zoning board, as well as the town board to kind of start diving into some of these details. And also those representatives would be like sort of a liaison to the planning board on some of the zoning changes. One of the things that we wanted to, it's not going to be very time extensive. I think it's going to be like maybe a couple, my thought is a couple Zoom meetings, and then we'll probably have like, red lines of the zoning code for people to review or the different sections. So we wanted to see if a couple planning board members would be interested in becoming part of that subcommittee.
Well, I'll do it. But...
Okay.
And Jason, did you raise your hand too? No.
And that doesn't mean that the...
That doesn't mean I don't want to. I'm just not committing at this point.
Okay.
Right. And I was going to say is that doesn't mean that the planning board won't be able to review the documents. It's really just trying to, streamline the process and then potentially have those that are part of the subcommittee then be a liaison to the planning board for them to review the documents as they come out.
Is there anybody else who wants to volunteer?
I'll volunteer, Carolyn.
Okay, thanks, Manny. Okay, very good. So you got two of them.
Okay. All right.
I was waiting for Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right.
Good night, everyone. Nice meeting you all.
It was nice meeting you, Eunice. Take care.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Eunice.
Everybody. We got sooner than we anticipated.
Yeah, that was quick.
All right. Take care.
Good night.
Night.
Night.